Good evening, District 98 and fellow members. Welcome to our PQD Bootcamp session number 2 on a Sunday evening. First of all, thank you so much, everyone, for taking out time today and attending this amazing session. Yes, I'm saying amazing because I know definitely this is going to be amazing as our first bootcamp session was. I'm sure all of you would have attended how to go ahead and ensure that your club achieves the success that you have envisioned it for and how to achieve those 10 DCP points. And today we have something which is more important and more fun filled, the contest season. Yes, the contest season is just around the corner and you have a lot of questions. 10 years back when I was a Toastmaster and the first time when I had to compete, I had no clue what the contest was all about. I was just told this is a contest, we want you to contest in it. And I said, what contest? Table topics. That was the easiest one. When you become a budding Toastmaster, table topics is the most easiest of the contests you can actually participate in. I just went ahead and I participated and it was good. It was a great experience, but little did I know who all were involved in ensuring that the contest was a success. And yes, there are a lot of people behind the scenes who ensure that the contest is a success. There are a lot of people involved to ensure that the best contestant goes up to the next level. And I apologize, that's my mother's phone. She just left it here as always, and that's ringing. I can't even move away from the screen right now. With this thought and without going ahead and taking away the limelight from our main people, I'm going to move ahead into the session. So please, with a huge round of applause, help me welcome our very first person on the virtual stage who's going to go ahead and take this session forward. He is going to go ahead and help us to get to know what it takes to be an effective chief judge, what it takes to be an effective chief judge. Yes, that's the most important role that everybody wants, everybody dreams of to play. But yes, there are certain technical things that are required for you to play that role. So with this, please help me welcome our program quality director for District 98, distinguished Toastmaster Joy B. Hans. Over to you, Joy.
Hey, good evening. Thank you. That was an amazing introduction. Thank you for that. Good evening, everybody. I am having a little interesting twitch in my throat, and I do not know what it is, but it is troubling me. But the show must go on. So good evening, everybody, and all the members who have joined us. Around 63 of us are here in this room, and I hope that all the 200 odd that have registered would join. And for those of you who will be watching us later, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, whichever time you will be watching this particular Zoom recording. So today we have two very good friends of mine with whom I have been working closely. I have worked with them last year to help us through this particular session. And this is one of the most critical sessions in the boot camp, especially as DTM Sapna just said that contests are coming around the corner. And it is better to be prepared than to be sorry in the last minute, because a lot of us miss the bus of being a judge or a chief judge because we haven't made the preparations right, or our club misses an opportunity to contest or even to qualify for some of the recognitions that we give as a district. So before I do any further talking, let me first introduce to you our two amazing panelists for today. First up, I would like to go with distinguished Toastmaster Mayuri. Now, she is a dear friend of mine. We worked together as area directors. Last year also, she was a division director for Division N. She is the immediate past division director. I and Mayuri have worked very closely for the last 3 years, and she's one of the core members responsible for Division N being the Division N. Without her, that would not have been possible. And she has also been the district chief judge for us 2 years ago. So who better than her on this discussion? The second panelist that we have is Toastmaster Suhas. We worked together last year. Two, he is the immediate past division director of Division O. And before that, a year ago, he was a Division O3 area director. He has also been a chief judge more than 20 times in different contests, and he's one of the most sorted out chief judge. So if you guys after this Zoom session want to find out a chief judge, and you also want the chief judge to be handsome, you know whom to reach out to. That is no one else but Toastmaster Suhas. So the reason why we wanted to do this particular session quickly is because there is a lot of misunderstanding with this particular role. A lot of people do not understand how critical the role of a chief judge is. To help you understand that, I will quickly ask both my panelists one simple question. I am a regular Toastmaster. Why should I even think of being a chief judge? What is in it for me if I become a chief judge? Toastmaster Mayuri, I would like to ask you this question.
Thank you so much, Joy, for that very warm introduction. Hello and good evening, everybody. It's always nice to be there, and it's always great fun when we talk about contests. And I think, Suhas, on that note, when Joy mentioned you've taken a whopping 20, 22 times CJ, you beat all of us follow. So the practical inputs will be far more welcome from you than from my end. Now, coming back to your question, Joy, when you asked me why should one take up the role of a chief judge? Well, for me, as I would say with a lot of us who are Toastmasters, it begins with me. I am a Toastmaster and I will take up any role that comes my way. And I can always correlate all the four core values to even this role. So you perform selflessly for the sake of the club, the area, the division, the district. Then you strive for excellence in the entire organizing. And then you yourself learn so much about team building, integrity, when you are forming your teams, getting your judges, finding out they're eligible or not. And there's so much that you learn to take and in time, limited time, 2 weeks time, 1 week's time, whatever it is. It's a very big learning experience, I feel. And so there's a sense of great achievement and satisfaction at the end of the day. Ask Suhas 22 times, why has he done it? I mean, I can tell you from a bookish point of view, and I have been chief judge also multiple times. But then once the contest is over and you know you've done a good job and your team of judges have also done a good job, it is for those members, it is for those contestants that you did take up the role and helped put together this team or teams. So I'd say every one of us, we should definitely take that role whenever it comes our way. Suhas would perhaps like to add something.
Yes, Suhas, anything you would like to add?
Yeah, thank you, Joy. And thank you, Mayuri. I mean, you have covered most of the reasons why we should take up the CJ role. But on a selfish point of view, I'd say that the CJ role is a very powerful role. I mean, when you're a CJ, everyone listens to you. You get to give people orders. But jokes aside, it's like Mayuri said, you get a lot of responsibility. And once you have played the CJ role, you get a sense of achievement, a sense of satisfaction. And more importantly, you get a different perspective of a contest. I mean, everyone has been a contestant and you have a certain perspective of what goes on behind the scenes. How is the contest organized? How are judges giving the marks to the contestants? All these things, it's very interesting. And if you haven't played the CJ role, I would say that go ahead and play the CJ role. And more importantly, it's also one of the reasons that a club would get a Diamond Club. I mean, that's one of the criteria for a Diamond Club award. Right. So why not become a CJ in the next contest that you're a part of?
Wow, that is amazing. So I personally, when I also took up the CJ role, I was not very keen, but there was one division director, his name was Toastmaster Anant, or Distinguished Toastmaster Anant. He forced me to be a CJ in one of his contests. And it just blew off my mind, because when you look at a contest from the other angle, which most of us miss, the beauty of a contest of being there and leading a panel of judges and then deciding, and you knowing the result before everybody else, this other side of the contest of how you become a club champion or an international Toastmasters champion, you would never know that. And I would also say that I also ended up becoming an amazing speaker after becoming a chief judge, because I knew what a judge is thinking when I'm giving a speech. So it definitely helped me as well. Wow, that was amazing. So any suggestions? First, I'll go to Suhas this time. We have opened a lot of clubs last year and also the year before. And around 60% members in our Toastmasters fraternity are close to around a year or under 1 year old. So any suggestions for any of all the new members? Should they go for a CJ role? And if yes, what would you suggest them?
Thanks, Joy. That's a very interesting question. Mainly because I myself became a CJ the first time almost 2.5, 3 years into my Toastmasters journey. But nevertheless, right now with the online platform, there's a lot of opportunity for people to take up the CJ role, and there's a lot of learning as well. I mean, it's not just it's not just a simple role. It's a role where you organize contest, you get judges around, and it's a different scope for new members. I mean, if you want to go and reach out to newer people, you want to make new friends, want to know how to experience the leadership learning of Toastmasters. So things like that, it will definitely improve within yourself. And I think a new member should go ahead and take up the CJ role. However, I would suggest that the person should know a little bit about the contest. They should go and read about the contest rulebook. They should learn more about the CJ role. They should talk to people who have been the CJ earlier. And probably after getting that knowledge, they can go ahead and play that role in a contest.
Wow. Anything you would like to add to that, Aditya, Mayuri?
I think I agree there with Suhas, and I would also say the same thing. Like when you say new member, the term new member is a little subjective. Is it 3 months? Is it 6 months? Is it 8 months? So then let me just, on a general basis, let me just say, when we become members, what I would suggest is let us first be a part of the club contest by contesting. So we start understanding what Toastmasters is all about, what contests are all about, what are the types of contests. So we start understanding this whole thing about contests at Toastmasters. And then gradually, let us undergo some training whenever there is one, and learn and understand how the judges' ballot works. So we start getting a little more understanding of also the judging criteria. So being a contestant, judging criteria, and then we also realize, oh, there are timers, oh, there are ballot counters. And that's where the team starts falling into place. Now, I would say that it will roughly take around 9 months to 10 months, maybe a year into Toastmasters. And that's when you can actually take up the role at your club level the first time. And everybody needs a first time, of course. But then just 3 months into Toastmasters, when you take up a CJ role, I would say let's just take a little while longer. First contest, understand and know what contests are, then take up maybe judging ones. And that too after having gone through the ballot, the training of sorts, and then take up a CJ role. I am sure with every learning, with every time that you take up the role of the chief judge, you just get better and better.
Wow. So should I understand that it's better to be a judge before you become a chief judge? Just a quick yes or no.
I would suggest yes, to know even how to brief your judges. You should have been there, done that, in order to even tell the judges what is expected of them. So I would say yes.
Wow, that is amazing. So how can one pick up the right? Is there any way to pick up the right judges? Because there is a lot of misunderstanding based on this. Last year, we had a lot of area directors running around clusters, other districts, and even other countries to pick up judges. And there was a crazy chase for judges. They didn't want to go for people from their own cluster or their district. So there was a lot of confusion. Any light you would like to throw on this, Toastmaster Suhas?
Yeah, thank you for the question, Joy. And like always, any CJ, when you become a CJ, you have to find the right judges. And definitely there's always the kind of people that you look for. So when I was a CJ, I would always try to look for different kinds of people. Some young, some old, some have been in Toastmasters for more than a year or two. That right mix of people. And since it's an online platform, it's very easier for you to reach out to people from different cities, different districts, and ensure that they become the judges for your contest. I would also say that try to pick up judges who have been a part of contests before, either as a contestant, as a role player, so that they know how to judge a contestant. If you pick up someone who's been a Toastmaster for a month or two, they may not have the right idea about what is good and what is not good. How to give and things like that. So you need to ensure that people who have been have been contestants before or who have been in Toastmasters for at least a year or so to be the judges. Wow. And yeah, the right mix, whether it's gender-based, age-based, district-based, probably.
Okay. Ditya Mayuri, anything you would like to share
Well,
on this?
Joy, Suhas has pretty much covered up all of it, but I don't know if you remember or not. We had a talk 2 years ago while I was a
Yes.
district teacher about this, the same thing.
Yes.
Let's have a pool of judges, which is more, far more than the number required, minimum number. Because on an online platform, you just don't know when a judge might face a technical glitch. And we do not want our contestants to lose out on any of those. So that is why let's have far more number of judges than is actually required. B, let's have a mix of gender-based judges. Let's have some by age as well, seniors and then young ones too. Let's have a pool of DTMs and some really new Toastmasters, because after all, when will a new judge start judging? So you really have to balance it all. And always have, judges who've been really into Harry Potter series and then the ones who've never heard of it as well. Because you just don't know what your contestant might bring in his speech. So you have to have this mixed bag of judges. And I think Suhas has already done that. But yes, that is how we make a pool of judges. So a right pool of judges will have a mix of all of these.
Right.
Joy and Mayuri, if I may add to that, there's always a tendency. I see that there's a tendency to reach out to the same people again and again.
Exactly. I wanted to ask this question. Thank you for bringing this up, Suhas.
Yeah.
Please share this.
So like Mayuri mentioned, I mean, having a pool of judges, the frequent faces as well as new people. So that would really help in ensuring that even new people get a chance to play the judge's role, and they get to learn as well from this.
Right. Thank you. I would like to share something over here. I have noticed personally that there are few CJs who pick up the same judges throughout. And this happened with me when I was an area director. So I would be invited randomly to 10 different contests to judge, and by default 70% of the judges were exactly the same people, and the one who missed were missed because either they were late or they were tied up. It was the same set of people rotating and repeating, and these are exactly the same people who go till district level as champions or contestants. So we are not having any new member come in. So one very valid point made over there by Toastmaster Mayuri, that pick 1 or 2 new judges as well in the group. They might not make the best ballot, but at least they will have that exposure and experience of being a judge at least once, so that we have that fresh flow of new judges coming in and not going with the same ones. And also a caution, if anyone is watching this, please do not make a gang of your own gang members. I've seen some club members just winning because the entire gang was judging, and their gang member was the best speaker, though that person was not the best. And I was one of the judges, and I was slightly taken aback.
So, know, Joy, I'm sorry to be interrupting, but I think the reason why most of us end up reaching out to the same pool of judges, like you said, there's a group of, if I'm a CJ, you all are judges. And then if you're a CJ, this is the pool of judges. It happens. And we've all noticed this.
Yes.
Because it's really difficult to reach out to people. You have to reach out to 40 people and then you'll get a yes for 10 people. Exactly. You have to make that effort. And I think that's what stops most of us from reaching out. We say, okay, we've got this pool of 10 people. I know out of 10, 5 of them will say yes. So I don't make those extra 30 calls. But that is where I think we really need to change. We have to, as CJ, reach out to as many people and new ones, so that ultimately we do get a fresh perspective, and that new Toastmaster also gets an opportunity to judge finally. We have to, as CJs, we have to make that effort.
Joy, you're on mute.
Sorry, I was coughing, so I muted myself and I forgot that I'm muted. And if you're not willing to make that effort, which Mayuri just said, ideally don't be a CJ. Just go ahead and enjoy the contest and let the best person win. By okay, we had got a question which I recently got, and this is that: is there any criteria to be a CJ, Aditya Mayuri?
By criteria to be a CJ, I would say, first of all, of course, experience. I mean, we just talked about it. A new member doesn't become a CJ, so that's one of the criteria. Yeah. Apart from that, I would say by the rule book, you have to be a member in good standing of a club, in good standing, and all of that.
Right.
But it comes more with experience, of course. It's just a question of having done at least once at the club level, and then you progress ahead at area or division or district level. Apart from that, being a judge, of course, there are criteria for different levels. But for a CJ also, I mean, level 2 is what I would say even otherwise, at least know what speeches are like. You've given speeches yourself. You've taken up a few roles at the club level. You've done your level twos. You know what speech writing is. So you're actually a part of the contest and speech writing. So I think level 2 is good to be there, but it's not mandatory as per the rule book for the club level, not at all. But it's more a question of experience there.
Okay, lovely. Thank you.
And I wish the PQD office does something to make it, I don't know, to make it a little bit more easy for people to take some kind of test. If it is a test,
Yes.
assessment, I remember the one we had 2 years ago.
It is
So that
coming.
we read the rule book. Everything is there in the rule book.
Okay. After listening to Nitya, Mayuri, and Suhas, you are all excited and charged up. Yes, I want to be a CJ. So, what is the first thing, or before the contest, what is it that the CJ is supposed to do? Toastmaster Suhas, I would like to ask you this question.
I think the most important thing is go through the rule book, go through every aspect of the rule book and understand what is written in it. And like Mayuri mentioned previously, that there was a quiz that she had, an assessment that she made a stake. And it had various scenarios. I mean, corner cases, what would happen? In this case, what should a CJ do? And that is something that maybe the PQD should come up with, and they could guide the people who want to take up the CJ. But after that, I think as a CJ, I used to make a checklist of the things that I need to do. Things like finding the judges, selecting the judges, then let's say it's a table topic contest, then having the table topic, the contestant come up with the table topics, getting a test speaker in case of an evaluation contest. And there's an entire checklist that you have to go through, and you will get I think it's there on the Toastmaster website. If not, you can reach out to me. I'll share that with you. And it's something that every CJ should go across with. Also, I feel that even if the rules mandate that you need to have 5 judges, it's really advisable if you can have almost 7 or 8 or even more judges, because you never know if one judge loses the network coverage and not able to listen to at least even one speaker's speech, then they will not be able to judge the entire contest. So you don't want to risk missing out on that. I mean, you don't want to risk the contest becoming void because there were not enough judges. And apart from that, yeah, go through all the different role play briefings as well and brief the judges and the role players. And yeah, so these are some of the things that you should do before the contest.
Okay, lovely.
Joy, I want to add something to Suhas said, and I know I'm interrupting there, because when Suhas said have more than 5, like if it's mandatory to have 5, then have more, 7 or 8. A little note over here. Try to get odd number of judges, because the tie-breaking judge is not a part of your protest team, but then your judges are going to go into a breakout room, and in case they end up at a tie of, found guilty for disqualification or not, you're going to be in a fix. You cannot leave the room till there is a majority of voting judges voting in favor or against the disqualification. So please have an odd number of voting judges. It always helps. In case there is a protest and you need to vote, then it always helps to have an odd number. So you don't want the contest to just go on and on.
Yeah. Wow. So as
Joy, sorry to interrupt. One more thing I wanted to put across. Always try to have a backup for each role. Even for your tie-breaking judge role, there should be a backup. Even for a test speaker, there should be a backup, because you never know. It's an online meeting. Anything can happen over there.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow. So as Aditya Mayuri was giving us some answers, we heard 3 interesting words, and these words are tiebreaker, protest, and disqualification. So firstly, I would now go to Aditya Mayuri itself. So what is a tiebreaker judge? How is it different from the other judges? And if there is a tie, then how does this tiebreaker judge help us?
So a tie-breaking judge is also a part of the team of the chief judge, along with the voting judges, except that your pool of 7, let's say 7 judges, are going to be one pool of, they're all voting judges. Your tie-breaking judge remains secret, only known to you, just the chief judge, that is.
Right.
And so you will connect and brief him one-to-one personally. That's your tie-breaking judge. During protest, the tie-breaking judge does nothing. It's the voting judges who will go into the breakout room along with you, and then you'll have the hearing for the protest. After that, the tie-breaking judge's ballot, and this is very important, very, very important. Again, there have been instances where the tie-breaking judge's ballot has to be opened. And why? Because the contestants, once we start tallying, we reached at a tie. And this has happened at club level, at area level as well, this division level as well. So when you reach at a tie, you will have to open the tie-breaking judge. So kindly choose your tie-breaking judge very wisely, someone who has at least some experience in giving marks according to the judging ballot. Because when the tie-breaking sheet is open, we don't want the candidate who's not so deserving to end up winning. And this can happen. So please choose your tie-breaking judge really wisely. There has been an instance where 3 contestants all got 10, all 3 of them, and finally the tie-breaking judge's sheet was opened, and the winning order was based on his ballot, and all the previous judges had it went into a tie. So that is something which is very, very important.
Okay, so can we assume that the tie-breaking judge should be the most experienced judge out of the
not
list?
most, but yes, one of those who knows how to give marking to all the contestants, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, as many contestants. You have to mark them, even by 1 mark if it's different. You have to break your own ties and realize that I will give this position to this contestant. But then that is why a tie-breaking judge needs to have at least a little bit of experience. Not the most, but definitely yes.
Okay, lovely. Thank you, Ditya Mayuri, on that. We got exactly 4 minutes, and I'm picking up all the questions which are coming to me. Toastmaster Suhas, this question is for you. What is a protest exactly, and why do people protest?
Okay, to talk about protest, we'll have to talk about why anyone can be disqualified. Yes. And if you go through the rule book, you will see that there are 3 criteria. If the person has referred something that someone else has mentioned in the contest, same contest, it's a ground for protest. If any person says something which is quoted by someone else, but does not give credit for that, that is also valid ground for protest. And the third is if the more than 25% of a person's speech is not original. It is taken from someone else's speech, it's taken from a TV series or stand-up comedy, it can be anything. Right. That is ground for protest. And in this case, any judge or any contestant can protest to the CJ, the chief judge, or the contest chair. And if this happens, then the chief judge has to take up all the judges into a breakout room, and then they have to explain why the protest was done, what was the reason, which contestant protested or which judge protested, and the contestant or the judge in question who protested may have to provide proof as to why it was a protest. And then the voting judges, they all convene in the breakout room and they have to decide then you get the accused contestant, can I say, who has been accused of disqualification, that person into breakout room, they get to give their side of the defense. And then the voting judges make a decision on whether or not to disqualify the contestant. So protest is done in for these 3 reasons. And if the voting judges decide, whatever the voting judges decide is the final decision, whether or not the CJ agrees with it or not, the voting judges have the power to decide whether it's disqualified or not.
Okay, so only the judges and the contestants can protest. No one else can protest. And yes, if they're not able to show any proof of the protest in that case?
I think in case the proof is not there, then you cannot.
Even if there is no proof, but then the voting judges have to arrive at one common decision within that breakout room. Wow. Whether they will disqualify or not disqualify, it is totally their decision, collective.
Okay. Yeah. And if as an audience member, I'm very upset, my best friend Suhas didn't win the contest. And I want to protest. I want to fight with everybody, including district director. What should a CJ do in such a case?
What should a CJ do?
CJ.
We are really very sorry, but the rule book does not allow any audience member to raise a protest. Extremely apologetic about it.
Thank you. Because I've seen, yeah, Suhas.
Yeah, sorry.
No, please continue.
I say there's a tendency to blame the CJ when a contestant doesn't win. So please do not do that. There is a reason the judges voted for someone who finished in the top 3.
And please remember, CJ does not have anything in his or her hand. Everything is done by the judges, the panel or the pool of judges we have. So just in case a result is announced wrong, so there are some people who can still come and stop the result. Once the result is announced, it is done. It is done. Mayuri is the champion of District 98. That's done. No one can fight with Mayuri after that. But before the result is announced, can there be any changes just in case CJ Joy made an error? Can anyone interrupt Joy? Suhas?
Well, yeah, the role players are there for the same very reason. The tally counters are there with the CJ and they would know who the top 3 are. And if the result is announced incorrectly, they can step in and they can mention that this has been mentioned incorrectly. The timers are also there. In case any person has gone over the time limit and by mistake, the CJ has mentioned that there was no time disqualification, then the timers need to interrupt the proceedings and tell them that this is incorrect.
Wow. We have exactly 1, 2, 3 members in the Zoom right now, and that is amazing. Thank you guys for attending in such a large number. We are exactly dot on time. And before we do anything else, move ahead, I would quickly like to share something with you. All of you know what YouTube is. If you go to YouTube, there is a very beautiful YouTube video with this very beautiful lady on it. You can see it is known as Judges Training Program by DTM Mayuri. It is on the District 98 handle. It was done 10 months ago. Any one of you who wants to become a CJ or a judge, this is one of the best resources already made by the D98 team, and it is already shared. If you want to take your own time, it's a 2-hour long video. It has case studies and everything shared in it. Please go and watch this video. It will really help you to take your knowledge regarding judging a little bit more forward. So I would quickly like to thank DTM Mayuri and Toastmaster Suhas over here, as Toastmasters will not shoot overtime. I would like to thank both of you for coming forward and encouraging a lot of members to come forward. And the sole purpose of this was to create awareness that even new members can go ahead and take judging. This is not a technical training. It's just from 2 most experienced chief judge and the district past DCJ of the district to share with you that any one of you can become a chief judge, and it really helps you. It's an important feather in your Toastmasters journey. So please go ahead and think how you can become a chief judge for your club, and maybe it will help you in your own Toastmasters journey, both as a contestant, as a leader, or even as a club member. So thank you, Toastmaster Suhas and Toastmaster Mayuri, for sharing those insights with us. And we can't thank you enough for being there. Yeah,
thank you for having us. Thank you so much. Thank you to District.
Any last words you would like to share before I let you both?
Oh, I will always say, please go ahead, take up the role. There are challenges, but then greater the obstacle, the more glory in overcoming it, as said Moliere. So I would say, please, all of you take up the role whenever it comes.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mayuri. Suhas, any last words for the audience members?
I'll just say, yeah, take up the role of the CJ. It's a different role from what you normally would do probably in a contest, but it's a very important role and very interesting learning experience over there as well. And if you have any questions, if you need any help, you can reach out to me anytime.
Yeah. And all the contest related documents are already, last year also it was shared on the district website in the contest folder. We will again be refreshing it and uploading it based on any new changes which are made in the contest rule book. There are currently DCJ, past DCJ Mayuri, there are no changes in any of the rules, right?
Just a tiny one, a couple of them related to members who are going to be contesting, and if they are standing for elected positions, so there's a little note over there. Yeah. Not major changes as such, but yes, there are just a few changes.
So we'll be uploading that from the PQD office on the website, D98 website. You can go and have a look over there. Thank you to both the panelists. Now I'll quickly invite Toastmaster Amandeep, Program Quality Director, to take us through the next session. Toastmaster Amandeep, can we have you spotlighted? So I would quickly like to hand it over to Toastmaster Amandeep. Thank you.
Thank you very much, distinguished Toastmaster Joy Behans. And good evening, everyone. And to those who will be watching it later on, good evening, afternoon, morning, whatever the time zone you are in, or whatever time you are attending, or you are watching this video. As Joy Bhai has talked about being a chief judge, we'll be now moving to another aspect of the contest, that is being a judge. And we'll be talking about some common do's and don'ts about being a judge. And there are a lot of questions asked in the registration form about being a judge in the online medium. So we'll be covering those aspects also. To talk about being a better judge or being a good judge, to talk about this, I'd like to invite 2 of very dear friends of mine with whom I've been serving in district from a very long time, and outside district, they are really very good friend of mine. So with a huge round of applause, please welcome distinguished Toastmaster Joy Behans and Toastmaster Sanjay. Okay, good evening, both of you.
Thank you.
My very first basic questions, and as I said, there are a lot of things, ambiguity, I will say there are a lot of ambiguity going around when it comes to being a judge in online medium. because there are a lot of criteria which needs to be followed and tracked. For an example, audience response when it comes to humorous speech or stage movement, or a couple of time it might be about the gestures and postures and all those things. So how do the judges tackle these kind of situation where they have to judge on the basis of this criteria? Sanjay, you want to share your thoughts about?
I'll let Joy go first, and then I'll go next.
Okay, Joy.
Perks of being a senior citizen. So there is no major changes. The first thing that you would have noticed that this is not a live meeting, and this is exactly how a contest would look. If you listen to that video which I was sharing, asking you to watch some time ago, in that it is clearly mentioned that it is advisable by the chief judge that all the contestants stand and deliver. The one first and foremost, if you are a contestant, do not sit and deliver. So as a judge, when I'm evaluating, or I'm judging, not evaluating, sorry, wrong word. Alarm bells will ring right now. When I'm judging, I have to give respect to the online medium that I have. Just because I'm using an amazing ring light over here and I'm looking fair and handsome does not mean that as a judge, you guys will give me more marks. And just because currently today there is a little low electricity in Sanjay's house, you will not be giving him less marks just because of that. So whatever parameter you're using, there are no clear demarcated parameters for this. You follow exactly the same parameters that we have in the regular contest. But whatever parameters you use to evaluate the first contestants are the same one that you will be using for all the others. Just because someone's mic quality is a little better does not mean he's a better contestant. And just because someone does a little bit more flair and the others are not able to do does not qualify them to be a better speaker. So as a judge, one simple rule, whatever parameter you use for contestant number 1 the same parameter is the same parameter that you will use for contestant number 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Joy. Adding on further to what Joy mentioned, I think one important element I picked up from what Joy has mentioned is having the same scale to measure everyone. Your scale can't really change. The moment someone's lighting is good, you say, wow, let me pay a little more attention. That cannot be the case. Second thing, very specific to what Aman asked with regards to audience response, I think it is all the more important, especially when there is humor. And humor reminds us of the humorous speech contest. Now, my heart goes out to all of the humorous speech contests because you don't get to hear laughter. Equally, I want to have sympathy with the judges and remind you of one important element here. Now, you are an audience in the end. So add that bit of perspective, but remember, you are not the only person in the audience. Even if we were having an in-person contest, if you're a judge, you're 1 out of the 100 or 1,000 people who are seated there. Be mindful, and I'll tell you what I do in such cases. Obviously, I will add in what I feel as an audience, what I perceive, or what is the response that I receive. But I will keep the marking. For example, I'll just give you a simple number just for us to ballpark. If I'm giving the first contestant 7, I will try and give all of the contestants in that range. At max 8 or 6. I will not bring in the disparity of say 4 to one contestant and say 10 to another contestant. Just for a fact that I laughed at those jokes. Now let's remember the whole concept of jokes itself is relative. It's not necessary that a joke is universal. Some people like certain types of jokes and some don't. The whole concept of reception from the audience sort of becomes a big hurdle in the online medium. What we need to do as judges is sort of keep it aside and focus on a lot of other elements. Now, if you look at the ballot, it is not only about audience response. It's not only about what people do. There are so many other elements. I would suggest we amplify those elements, focus on that, and let this remain as one part of it. That's what I'd like to add, Aman.
Thank you very much for that input, Sanjay and Javai. Now, the very next question, which was like top in my list, as well as it is the maximum times asked question by the audience, how to overcome the halo effect. Now, in this halo effect, there are a lot of things which was asked. The very first thing is how to overcome the effect of keeping the judging restricted towards that one speech only, not judging that contestant out of the previous speeches, the previous contestant speeches. That is not comparing both the speeches. That is one thing in halo effect. The other thing is how not to become biased if my personal emotions are being hurt. Let's say there might be a humorous speech where someone cracked some joke and I didn't like it. So how to overcome that? So these are the two questions which are asked basically under the heading of halo effect. First is not being biased because if my personal sentiments are getting hurt or I didn't like it. And second is how not to have those things in mind which was set by the earlier contestant or which was set by that respective contestant in the earlier speeches.
Okay. You would like me to go first?
Yes,
Yes.
Joy.
Okay. So for biased, it is very easy to get biased. Very, very easy to get biased. Anyone can get biased. And there are various reasons on which we get biased. For example, some of us just will go ahead with some of the extremely talented Toastmasters. We see Sapna and we are like, oh my God, she's the best. Who can beat Sapna? Game over. Now that's clear halo effect. It's your past experience with this person, or maybe you know this person from a long, long time. You have been watching them contest, or you suddenly see one very, very nervous person giving their best, and you are like sympathy for him. Pichara, he's contesting for the very first time. It can be anything. Please remember, as a judge, you have an important role to play. Your job is to just do your role, keep your emotions aside, and just go with the ballot, whatever is written on the ballot. And to play your role well, you need to understand what the ballot says. It is not just about the delivery. It's not just about the content. I've seen a lot of judges doing this, only going with the, some of us are highly analytical. So anybody whose content is good, he is my champion. Delivery does not matter. And some of us are highly emotional. If someone is doing a lot of gimmicks in his speech, but the content is not nice, he is my champion. Now that's not a judge's perspective. A judge should be well balanced. Look at all the criterias which are there, the speech structure, the overall speech delivery, which is a major chunk. Some of us will just mark someone down because that person is having a little MTI or a little grammatical error. You cannot do that as a judge. It has hardly the last segment, 5 marks or 10 marks in the ballot. So when you're doing your judging, number one, you cannot have biases based on anything. It is unfair for you to do that, unfair on that candidate. And secondly, one important thing that I learned from my seniors is benchmarking. We will usually benchmark the first contestant, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, the score. Anybody who's better than the first speaker, give him more marks. Anybody is bad, little bit less than this, give him less marks. Now, this is not a good way to judge. It means you are exactly doing what you're not supposed to do as a judge. You have a 1 minute silence. In this 1 minute silence, take some deep breath, maybe drink a glass of water. Try to forget about the past speech and then start afresh. You're not supposed to compare the first and the second speech with each other. Thank you.
Sanjay?
Yeah, I'd like to bring in a very different and an interesting angle to it. A lot of us, all of us, I hope all of the people who are taking judges will sign the judges code of ethics, the eligibility form that exists, and we will send it to the chief judge. And chief judges, please don't have any judges. If they don't send that to you and say, I know you, you are my friend, those things don't really work. Now, when we do that, it's similar to taking an oath at different occasions. As a club officer, a lot of us vote to do a lot of things. We'll say that the interest of the club is going to be at the utmost priority. We'll not let our personal beliefs come in, or we'll do it to the best of our ability. Now, I want all of us to go back today and to read all of the 5 points that are mentioned in Judges Code of Ethics. If you are hearing some noise and some sort of me switching screens, I was just trying to see how many points exactly exist in the Judges Code of Ethics. There are 5 points. Now, it covers pretty much all of the things that Aman said. Bias, how not to give, have sympathy towards an underdog or say, hey, he's a champion, he'll always do well. To get rid of all of that, I think it's important we read and understand what this really means. The whole concept of bias is very simple and sort of very blown out in today's world. For example, next year, if we have Joy or Amandeep competing, we will say, hey, they were there last year doing the judges training. I'm sure they are way better as contestants than others. May not be the case, may be the case. The idea is we have to focus only at that event. I'd like to remember or recall one thing that one of the past district directors from another district told me. One important element that he mentioned was whenever you enter a contest or whenever you enter a Toastmasters meeting, leave your titles at the door. Similarly, as a judge, when you enter a contest, forget the past at the door or leave the past at the door. It's extremely important because if you carry all of those points, then there is no way you can get rid of bias. We are not gods or we are not superhuman beings for us to say, no, it's okay, I will think of the past and still not do it. Consciously, subconsciously, we will have those points running in our mind. Important element, let go of that right at the beginning. If you want a reminder, thank you, Amandeep, for putting it up here. Read out the 5 points again before you start judging. That's another element. The next thing that I want to talk about is just more of a tip, what Joy mentioned about benchmarking. Now, in an in-person contest, it's always recommended that you start writing the name of the contestants, not from right to left. When I say not from left to right, but from right to left on the screen, on the paper. Now that's important because what a lot of people do is they keep folding as they mark. And then I think that's a most extreme way of not being biased. What I would suggest is avoid glancing at the scores again and again. Hey, this contestant I've given, say, 25, 30, or whatever might be, 75, for example, out of 100. This contestant, I think, will get a 76. Now, naturally, we will tend to mark a point up and down, and it happens with a lot of us. We need to get rid of that fact. Remember, when it's a speech, when you're judging that speech, you just have two boxes to look at: the name of the contestant and the criteria. The marking needs to be there. Forget everything else. I think that is very important.
Son, mummy ko call kar lo na.
Joy, you were on mute, you went unmute.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay, no problem.
Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. Yes. So I think that is extremely important for us to do. What really happens in the online, or not necessarily in the online medium, it's more risky. Let me share why. We have our screen open. Even if you want to avoid, you cannot. You will keep looking at the scores over and over again. Let's remember that as judges, there is a huge responsibility. We can make or break a speaker or a contest's future just because of our decisions. And it's a collective thing. In the end, it works both ways. But let's remember that we don't let all of this come in. It's Mayuri, I think, mentioned right at the beginning that we need to follow Toastmasters' core values in everything we do. I think judging is the place where it is needed the most. So remember, integrity, respect, service, and excellence. And yeah, we need to get rid of the bias. Back to you, Aman.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. And to what Joy Bhai did a minute back, that brings me to my next question. That is, being in online, and any such kind of situation can happen with anyone, where you might think that you are on mute, but you are actually on unmute, and such kind of distraction may happen. Now, it's very important for us as judge to be really focused, and I want this to be answered by Joy Bhai, that how do we handle the distractions, such distractions, how really we can maintain our focus while doing the judging.
Oh, this is interesting. You just noticed my mom called in the middle and I muted and it didn't get mute. And we can't do anything. You are in the middle of the contest and suddenly a boss calls or anybody calls. Please remember, at that point of time, you're doing just one thing. If you notice, my neck didn't move from the screen. I thought I'm muted, and I told my wife to pick the phone, and the phone is right there. So she's scared to come in the room because all of you are watching her. So right now, this is the main thing. So keep the main thing, one of the district leaders said. So when you are judging, that is the main thing. Forget about everything else on the planet. That is one of the most important rules. I have personally seen some judges, because they will turn off their camera and they will just pull out. During online contests, my personal observations, a lot of judges just pick up the random 1, 2, 3. They will just listen to all the contest arams and randomly give 1, 2, 3. That is not a good practice. Please understand, the contestants have worked hard for months together for this one contest. And just because of your laziness, all that hard work goes down the drain of some poor Toastmaster who worked hard with his mentor, hours of practice in front of a mirror and in front of cameras. Please don't take that away from any contestant. So when you are judging, your main focus is only on judging and nothing else. No matter what the distraction, switch off everything if possible, except for this. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Sanjay, you want to add something here?
Yeah, just a brief point. I think Joy mentioned right at the beginning, it's exactly the same situation. Imagine while 4 of our videos are turned on right now, imagine I being a contestant. It is extremely scary. It is extremely scary for me to be speaking in front of my camera. The least that a judge can do is look at the person who's speaking here. I think that's the least that is expected. To pay attention at least to the person who's taking all of the courage. Now, I know a lot of contestants, I do understand people who contest for the first time may not perform that well, and it may be an easy decision for you that, hey, this person is not in my top 3 for sure, or this is one of the people in the top 3. And what we tend to do often is, we'll have another screen open. Very honestly, we'll have WhatsApp open there. We'll be chatting with our friend. Suddenly something buzzes in, one of our family members enter. A lot of these things are common. I know it's difficult in the online world. I'm not saying that you zone out from everything, but make your best attempt to ensure that you are isolated for that time. Now, I don't want to give this analogy, and I hope this doesn't happen to anybody, but think of, being isolated due to COVID. You wouldn't let anyone come near you, right? You would focus purely on staying away and staying alone. Do that for the duration of the contest. And then trust me, I don't know if God will bless you or not, but Joy and the PQD team will bless you. for being rightful judges. Yeah, back to you, Aman.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. And this brings me to the very last question from my list, which even Joy Bhai mentioned a bit about that in his last answer. That is, now many a times, just because of laziness of being online, we don't put on marks on ballot, and we just think, okay, this 1, 2, 3 are best. I like them most, and I'll just put them winner. What do you guys think about that? How much worse it can impact in terms of sending the best representative to the next level, and also in terms of the judging quality?
Okay. I would like to tell you something which my mentor told me once. He said, the day you learn the 4 values of Toastmasters is the day you become a Toastmaster. You don't become a Toastmaster the day you become a DTM. So the day you violate this, if you are doing this to your members, it means you first of all are not even a Toastmaster. You do not have the basic integrity or the respect for the member, as Sanjay rightly mentioned over there. So this, it is like total. Imagine, I have seen cases, live cases. One of my mentees, I would not like to name the mentee, experienced something like that, and my mentee is not even a Toastmaster today. And the mentee, I would not even specify the gender, otherwise my friends will catch who the mentee is. So this person had worked really hard, and I, as a mentor, I'm a drill master for ISC. I'll start making my mentees prepare from 4 months in advance. 4 months of hard work went down the drain just because people were negligent. I'm not saying that was the best contestant, but it happened. So many of the members, we would have lost some of the champions. A lot of time, if you would, many of us keep complaining consistently, the quality of our contestants is not good. The quality of the contestants is directly correlated to the quality of the judging that we do. Over to you, Toastmaster Raman.
Sanjay?
Yeah, I'd like to introduce 2 words that we've been listening time and again in our Toastmasters journey. Something called being subjective and something called being objective. Now, the whole idea that a ballot even exists, or Toastmasters International has thought through it after years of iterations and a lot of modifications to it. The fact that the ballot exists is because judging needs to be objective. It cannot be subjective. Now, that's where the whole sort of balance comes in. As human beings, we're all subjective, trust me. And then there's no way we can take a subjectivity away. What we can do is reduce the subjectivity that we have during the contest, and the ballot helps us do that. The moment you get to this mode of just writing 1, 2, 3 or ranking your top 3 positions, it is what you feel. It is not the parameters. The moment you go down to the parameters and you look at each one of the elements mentioned there, Joy had mentioned some time back that grammar, for example, if someone is not so good with their grammar, with English, you can't mark that person down. The worst the person can lose is 5 to 10 marks, because that's all is given on the ballot. Exactly. If someone's content is poor, you cannot take away all the 100 points. Let's remember that there are specified points for each one of them, and that's what makes a contest the way it is holistically. Now, it is obviously understood that in a table topics contest, the content has, say, 55 and the remaining is 45. Yet it's important for us to go in those details and mark accordingly. That's where I'd like to introduce another point. A lot of us don't do it. Trust me, especially when we take judges' role twice or thrice, we say, it's like the back of my hand. I'll do it very easily. Remember to read the backside of the judge's ballot, because it has a clear explanation of what elements you need to be looking at. Now, when you say body language, what is body language? In the online setup, a lot of things change. I'm sure Aman has a question in his kitty about this online, so I'll not steal that away right now. But it's important we understand all of these elements. Be objective, do not be subjective. And remember that the ballot, writing down these marks, is what will really help us in being objective. The moment we say, no, I'm only going to go with my thoughts, and then it's what I feel, what I think, it's all subjective. Back to you, Aman.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. And yes, we did discuss about it at the very start, that how do we engage in online world, how do we judge in terms of audience response and other things. So yes, a lot of requests were there to explain the judge's ballot. We couldn't do it because of the paucity of time, but as Sanjay mentioned correctly, just go back, have a look at the ballot, turn it around. All the criteria are explained over there. So please do read it. If still you have doubts, you have your mentors, you have your area director, division directors, and the program quality directors present over there to solve out the things. And before I wrap up, I just want to highlight one experience of mine, which happened last year. Now, there was this one contestant who did a full drama of body language. That means he ensured that he's keeping camera far away from himself. He was using Bluetooth headphone like mine. And then he used chair, he used table, and he used blah, 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 XYZ thing. With that, he scored probably full on full when it comes to the props or covering the stage and other things. But at the same time, his content, his delivery, and other marks, other things were scored quite low. At the same time, there was a contestant which was really a good one when it comes to being a good at all the things. So imagine a contestant who was excellent only with that props aspect, and one contestant who was good with all the aspects. So Joy Bhai and Sanjay, quick thing. Who do you think will be better one to go for the next level? Someone who is excellent just with that body language and using the props, and one who was good or average at all the points? Joy Bhai?
At all the points, because he goes according to the ballot of TI.
Sanjay?
Yeah, Aman, I'll take a little more than 30 seconds to answer that. Firstly, I again, definitely I'd go and mark people. Now, if someone's exceptional with the physical part, which is the body language speaking area, I would give a 10 on 10 there. And I would rate this person accordingly on all of the parameters. The other person, maybe his physical in terms of the body language and all of that is a little less. So I may mark 7. Yet, if he scored exceptionally well in content, then naturally my total will speak for itself. Number 1. Number 2, I just want to introduce one very interesting concept that has been grinding in my head from the past few months with regards to contests or with regards to speaking. Most of us know the game of chess. And then a lot of you will agree that one of the most powerful, coins or the pieces that we have in a game of chess is the queen. Now, this queen to me is like all of the other elements of speaking. It's your body language, it's your voice modulation, and all of these elements. Yet remember, the game lies with the king. And then we've been hearing time and again in Toastmasters that content is king. Now it's up to you to decide whom you want to safeguard, your king or your queen. That's for the contestants, obviously. But remember, you will never do that, because my queen is the most powerful, I'll let my king just stay out in the open. It's extremely risky in a game of chess. Similarly, in speaking, like Joy mentioned, it's not necessarily that because the body language is great, you think, and then there's this fancy thought people have that he spoke very well, fluently, stylishly, in whatever manner you call. Remember, in the end, it's all about logic. It's about arriving at those scores and then going ahead. That's my take on it, Aman.
Thank you very much, Sanjay. And unfortunately, during that contest, the similar kind of take was not with all the judges. So keep this in mind that the decision lies with the majority of the judges. So don't think that I am doing good. If you are aware that someone else is doing such kind of thing, please educate them, please make them aware, because it's at the end, it's a collective decision, not a single person decision. That's why chief judge is not someone who decide the result of contest. It's the panel of judges who makes the collective decision. So please remember to be a good judge. And if you know someone who is missing out on the aspects which we covered till now in this last half an hour and 1 hour, please educate them, please make them aware. And yes, we PQDs are always there to help you out with such situations. So thank you very much, Joy and Sanjay, to be part of this talk. And I would like to request Joy to stay back and also to Sapna to come on the spotlight, because we do have some really generic questions with respect to PQD office, which I want all 3 of us to answer those. The very first thing is, what resources will be available from district side for the contest point of view? So as Joy Bhai mentioned, that there will be a whole kit uploaded. Sapna, if you can take it.
Sure. So guys, for everybody, we will be going ahead and uploading the entire kit as it has always been done in the past, which is in regards to your timers ballot, your timer sheets, your tally counter ballots, your judges eligibility, judges eligibility certificate, your ballots for the contest, all of that, and even the notification of the contest, the winner notification of the contest. We will be creating a link, a Google link, which will be floated to each and every single member of the district via an email, wherein we will let you know the path that you can click on, which will directly take you to the district website. It will also give you the link as to where you're going to go ahead and upload the winners. We are trying to make it we are trying to make the process very simple for everybody to follow and not complicate things at all. We are trying to move away from those heavy Excel sheets that everybody had to fill. We're just looking at the notification of the contest winners. That's about it. And all of that will be uploaded. Give us by the 15th of August. That's what we three are working on currently, so that we can get all of these resources out to you guys.
Thank you very much, Sapna.
Yeah.
Thank you. And which brings me to the next two questions. One is regarding, please share the details which a chief judge needs to share with PQD office. So as Sapna said that we will be circulating one email to all the members, which will contain list of all these things. On top of that, we recently shared the criteria of Diamond Club Award with the ExCom of all the clubs. So in that PDF, there is also the link mentioned, which a chief judge needs to fill within 7 days for the Diamond Club Award. If you are not vying for Diamond Club Award, still the chief judge needs to fill up that Google form, which will also send it separately. But if you want it right now, ASAP, look into the Diamond Club criteria. The next thing is regarding to, again, the same thing of Diamond Club, 3 chief judges and 6 judges from the club should take part. Is that right? Yes, it is right. But again, that is for one cycle. So in each cycle, there should be 6 judges and 3 chief judges. So in one cycle 1, 6 judge, 3 chief judge. In cycle 2, 6 more judge and 3 more chief judge. They can be distinct, they can be common, that's not the worry. But in total, there should be 12 judges representatives, 6 in each cycle, and 6 chief judges representative, 3 in both the cycles. The next thing, Joybhai, if you can answer that is there any formal recognition for the hidden judges?
No, actually, judges in our district, we consider them as secret superstars. So if it is a district conference, we do recognize you silently in incognito mode. We do not recognize you in front of everybody, because we do not want the members, if some of the members, when they lose, they get sulky, we don't want them to come and catch you. And that's the reason we do not do this openly. You are considered as secret superstars. We do recognize you at the district, from the district side, but at division and area contests and even club levels, you are not recognized.
Thank you very much, Joybhai. And just adding to that, from district side, no formal recognition, no public recognition. However, if the chief judge of that particular contest wants to give you a simple certificate, be it in digital or be it in hard copy, they can give you. But again, you cannot go out and flaunt, yay, I did the judge role. You cannot do that. I'm really sorry, but that is not allowed. You cannot flaunt it. The very last question is, which I will merge with a lot of questions, that is, will you be preparing a database of judges who have undergone training and share with area council? That is one thing. Second thing was, what is the criteria of being a judge or chief judge or tiebreaker judge? So I'll quickly like to share a portion of the rule book, the contest rule book. Okay, which says that to be a judge, chief judge, voting judge or tiebreaker judge at a Toastmaster speech contest, you must meet all the eligibility requirements identified below. The very first thing is, at a club contest, be a paid member. The simple thing, that is a member in a good standing of a club in a good standing. At an area, division and district contest, be a paid member for a minimum of 6 months, have completed minimum 6 speeches in competent communicator, and earned certificates of completion of in level 1 and 2 of any one path. It should not happen that you are completing level 1 of one path and then again level 1 of another path. You completed 2 levels. No, you need to complete level 1 and 2 from one specific path. Only members who join Toastmasters prior to rollout of pathways in their region can apply speeches from the. So this is something, to those members who are member of district before the pathways rollout, they can still be eligible for competent communicator criteria. That is the minimum of 6 projects, 66. Other than that, you are not eligible. And the last criteria is something which can be neglected in online. You need to be physically present at the contest. So you need to be present in that meeting room. So this is the criteria. Now, there is nowhere mention about any formal training or any certification from Toastmasters International side. So if you have filled up these criteria, you're eligible. And for sharing the database of judges, so all the district officers, all those who are taking the role of chief judge, it's a very simple criteria to verify if a member in a good standing or not. and if a member has completed CC6 or level 2 or not. So there is no database which we are maintaining with us to make the process redundant, or we are not recognizing any of the formal training as the mandatory training to become a judge.
Yep.
So with this, I'm done with all the questions asked in generic, and Joybhai answered to be a chief judge. I answered, so I covered it up during the judge. I hand it over back to Sapna for the concluding remarks, if any, from her side. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Aman. And I think we've got a very big announcement which you had messaged at the beginning, but I think you forgot to talk about it. So I am going to take that chance right now. So guys, this year as well, just like all the years, District 98 is going to have 4 contests. The first cycle is going to be evaluation speech contest and humorous speech contest. So please go ahead, start preparing so that you can tickle a lot of bones of everybody and make them get onto the camera when you're actually speaking. And yes, evaluation, obviously. The second cycle is going to be table topics and the most important contest for any Toastmaster, which is the international speech contest. So there are 4 contests which are going to happen. 1 winner each will be representing their clubs onto the area, then area onto the division, division onto the district. And yes, only the ISC, which is International Speech Contest winner of District 98, will be representing District 98 at the regional semifinals of Region 13. So this is what we have today for all of you. I hope that you all got the information that you wanted to. As we all say, Toastmasters is an experiential learning platform. Today, we are just trying through these boot camps to go ahead and help you out, to give that technical knowledge and to help you out with all the questions and queries that everybody always has. And yes, the most important thing, I again forgot, and thank you, Amandeep, for that. This year as well, we are going to have all online contests. All club till the district contest, everything is going to be online. So in case if you were thinking that any club was thinking to conduct a contest offline, probably as per the rules and regulations of the state or of their offices, corporate offices, please ensure that subsequent area onwards, all contests are going to happen online itself. So with this one, I wish if you have any questions or queries, please reach out to the PQD office. We have, Amandeep, if you can help me out to put in the email, type in the email address in the chat for everyone. Share your questions with us. Before you do that, we would appreciate if you can reach out to your area directors and your division directors to get your questions answered. If not, please reach out to us. We are always there to help. And the most important thing, your speech contest rule book, which is already there on the Toastmasters website, please go through it. The rules, all your questions, frequently asked questions in regards to speech contest, online speech contest, all of that is already updated on the Toastmasters website. We've been doing online contests since last 2 years, and I'm sure that we have a lot of data which is there. Before you reach out, because most of us, like me, even I have a problem. Me and Joybhai are similar. Aman is the most intelligent one among all of us. We both reach out to him for questions, right? And he always says, I'll help you out. He gives us all the details. But what's happening is that we both are forgetting how to do our own research and how to get our own answers. So all the questions that you will definitely have are all there. So just take out that little, Aman has already put in that link in the chat box. Put in the little effort, just go ahead and learn. Trust me, it will make your life as a judge or your role as a judge better, because you will know what to do. It will make your role, if you want to play as a chief judge, you will know what to do without being dependent on anybody. So guys, with this one, thank you so much for attending today's session. We will be back next month on a first Sunday with some more interesting sessions which can help you out to and understand and enjoy the world of Toastmasters.